Donald Trump has gone silent as Iran strikes another cargo ship in the Strait of Hormuz. This is precisely what I predicted was going to happen in the first video I did this morning. Moments ago, we learned the following. A UK MTO, United Kingdom Maritime Warning, stated the following. Attack, attack. A cargo vessel has been hit on the starboard side by an unknown projectile, causing damage to the bridge. Master has reported no casualties and no environmental impact. Obviously, Iran is exerting its newly claimed control over Hormuz after yesterday's Omani route breakout. Remember, Iran said you cannot go through the Oman route, the Oman passage. You need IRGC approval. And if you try to test us, we will knock out your ship. That is precisely what happened. And I've been saying, yes, the oil prices have been dropping on the Brent crude futures, but I said there is massive instability and it's dropping based on massive market manipulation. And remember, this morning, I shared with you the data under the 2 years in the Biden administration.
Do you think Trumpism lasts beyond this term?
Don't think so. I think it'd be very hard to do it. Remember this, Donald Trump is a celebrity. That's what he is. I mean, he's got he has a star on Hollywood Boulevard. I don't have a star on Hollywood Boulevard. I'm not lobbying for one. I'm just saying,
It seems like an oversight, by the way.
What's going on? He's a celebrity, and he's the President of the United States.
Hey everyone, I hope you're enjoying the video. We put a lot of time into research, fact-checking, and making sure every story we bring you is informative and meaningful. As an independent channel, your support truly keeps this work going. So if you find value in our reporting, please take a second to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and help us reach more people with stories that matter. Your support means a lot, and it allows us to keep giving our best every single day. Here's something most people don't know about George Clooney and Donald Trump. They used to be friends, that's right. Before the feud, before the insults, before the 3 a.m. rants, Donald Trump used to call George Clooney. They ran in the same circles. Trump once even tried to help Clooney get in to see a back surgeon. Clooney has described it himself. He knew Trump very well, used to see him out at clubs and restaurants, thought of him as, his words, a big goofball. And then, in Clooney's telling, that all changed, because the man Clooney knew as a goofball became something else entirely.
Biden administration following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and I said, look at what the prices were there, way higher. I said there's far more instability now, and also we see there's far more instability in Russia's invasion of Ukraine and Ukraine responding by attacking the Russian oil depots. Yet the price of Brent crude was $73. It made absolutely no sense to me at all. And Donald Trump, after manipulating the market all day yesterday, and Treasury Secretary Bessent doing the same, look, he has no items today on his calendar where he'll be talking to the press. Who knows, maybe he shows up. He hasn't posted anything on social media. It is a fraud in plain sight that is taking place. Another open source intelligence account explains how this container ship was hit by a projectile sailing in the forbidden corridor of the Omani waters. Again, that's the video I did this morning because I said this is what's going to happen, and it's going to happen quite frequently. And the fact that 2 U.S. aircraft carriers, fighter jets, drones that are going around the Strait of Hormuz 24/7 couldn't protect this container ship in the Omani waters is a reminder the U.S. has no control over the Strait of Hormuz. And I've been showing you the actual satellite data.
Did you go for a coup? I don't remember. I'll tell you, we caught him cold. It's about time that something happens, okay? It's about time that something happens. It's enough. We got plenty of information on these crooks, bunch of crooks. Thing like that's never happened in the history of our country, and it's about time that something happens.
And George Clooney, one of the most famous, most respected, and crucially, one of the most politically powerful actors in the world, turned into one of Trump's sharpest critics. And the President of the United States has not been able to handle it since. So let's walk through it. The friendship that curdled, the op-ed that shook a presidential election, the clapbacks on live TV. And why, of all the celebrities who criticize Donald Trump, this particular one gets under his skin in a way that makes him absolutely lose it. Let's get into it. First, you have to understand that George Clooney isn't just a movie star who has opinions. In Democratic politics, Clooney is a genuine power player, one of the biggest fundraisers in the entire party.
Of the ships that are pinging that they are in the Strait of Hormuz. And you'll see right here that yesterday there were ships trying to get through the Omani route. You see right here that the ships have been turning around and they either use the IRGC route or they don't get out of the Strait of Hormuz. That's what's going on. You know, Foreign Minister Araghchi spoke with his counterpart in Oman, the Foreign Minister of Oman, to discuss regional updates. And here's what they said coming out of this meeting, that they agree that for a temporary 60-day period, that they will allow for there to be free transit through the IRGC controlled area in the Strait of Hormuz, but that's for a limited 60-day period. And thereafter, Iran intends to charge fees, billions of dollars in fees. And the Wall Street Journal did an article about that today, but we didn't need that from the Wall Street Journal because Iran has been saying it and they've been doing what they're saying. And we can read what's in the Memorandum of Understanding. Iran intends to charge environmental service fees, protection fees, as the overall toll structure where they plan to make billions and billions of dollars.
And so he has been elected, duly elected, fair deal. I'm not complaining about that. That's how it works. That's how this democracy works. But he's also a celebrity, and he is charming. And to the people who like him, they think he's funny. To a great many others, they don't. And so when he is finished, and he will be finished, they're going to have to go looking for someone who can deliver the message that he delivered with the same kind of charisma, and they don't have that.
When Clooney throws a fundraiser, he raises serious election-shaping money. That makes him something most celebrity critics aren't, an actual political force, not a guy tweeting from his couch, a guy who can move millions of dollars and shift a race. And in the summer of 2024, he proved exactly how much weight he carries in the most dramatic way imaginable. Clooney wrote an op-ed in the New York Times, and it wasn't aimed at Trump, it was aimed at his own side.
And to make billions and billions of dollars. And by the way, we can actually show you data, show you receipts, show you audio. I mean, this isn't some cloak and dagger stuff right now. I mean, this is happening in plain sight. So, for example, ships have turned around in the Strait of Oman when the IRGC issued the warning. We have the audio of the Sepa Navy. That's the IRGC Navy. Sepa Navy, Sepa Navy. Turn your ships around, or we will strike you. And the ship that didn't turn around got hit. That's what happened. Here, I'll show you this. Let's play this audio of the Sepa Navy, the IRGC Navy, broadcasting this. We have the satellite footage of the ships turning around. And then we have the Trump regime, Donald Trump, Bessent, Rubio, manipulating the markets. Let's listen to the audio. Let's play this clip.
Attention all vessels, attention all vessels, attention all vessels in Persian Gulf and Oman Sea. This is Sepa Navy warning. Transiting in the Strait of Hormuz is only possible with Sepa Navy permission and on designated routes. If any vessel attempts to transit in the strait without our permission or AIS off or outside of the designated route, it's responsible for any consequences of any danger. This is Sepa Navy out.
We keep thinking we've exorcised all these demons, and we realize we're a long way from getting through with our original sins. It's unfortunate in our storytelling because suddenly some of the things that we were doing are much more literal than they were when we were doing it. But what was really frustrating about Charlottesville to me in watching it was these are moments when we're supposed to come together. You know, these are moments when that tiny faction that doesn't represent even 1% of the country shouldn't be.
He called on President Joe Biden, a man Clooney loved, a man he'd just hosted a massive fundraiser for, to drop out of the 2024 race. He wrote that the Biden he'd seen up close was not the Biden of years past. It was a gut-wrenching, loyal but honest piece, and it landed like a bomb. Within weeks, Biden was out of the race. Now, think about that. A movie star wrote an essay and a sitting president of the United States ended his re-election campaign. Whatever you think of it, that is an almost unprecedented demonstration of political influence by a celebrity. And it told Donald Trump something important. George Clooney is not someone to be ignored.
Now, we got the following message from Iran's lead negotiator and the leader of their parliament, MB Ghalibaf. He writes, America falsely claims our unfrozen assets will buy their agriculture. Interesting. The only crop we're harvesting is what you planted. Decades of mistrust. It's organic, abundant, and homegrown. But apparently the U.S. only exports GMO soybeans, broken promises, and trash talks. That's what they think of the United States, and that's what the rest of the world thinks of the United States. So you have Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who refused to participate in the Switzerland technical talks regarding the MOU because he didn't want to be associated with it. So he already shows divisions in the negotiating team by him not being there and just having J.D. Vance, Kushner, and Witkoff at the Switzerland talks. You're the Secretary of State, dude. That's literally your job as the top diplomat, to be there. Sorry if you don't want to do it. That's what your job is. But instead, Rubio's meeting with the Gulf Council cooperation countries this week. He's meeting with Bahrain, UAE, Kuwait, and others. Notably, Saudi Arabia is not on his schedule. Saudi Arabia doesn't want to meet. They're livid, and all these countries are livid. And they're saying the U.S. security umbrella failed, and these GCC countries.
I was thinking about Edward R. Murrow as we find ourselves nostalgic for when America was great and when the news wasn't fake.
Mr. Edward R. Murrow has made repeated attacks upon me and those fighting communists.
The actions of the junior senator from Wisconsin have caused alarm and dismay amongst our allies abroad and given considerable comfort to our enemies.
The actions of this president have caused...
He's someone with the power to actually change the shape of an election. And that, I think, is the root of why Trump can't let him go. Most celebrities Trump can dismiss as Hollywood lightweights. Clooney he can't, because Clooney has demonstrably moved the needle. So Trump did the only thing he knows how to do. He attacked. After that op-ed, Trump got on Truth Social and went after Clooney, calling him a fake movie actor and telling him to get out of politics and go back to television. The classic move: belittle the talent, dismiss the man, tell him to shut up and entertain. And here's where you get the first taste of why Clooney is so effective against Trump. Because Clooney didn't get angry. He didn't fire back with rage. He went on Jimmy Kimmel's show live, and Kimmel brought up Trump telling him to get out of politics. And Clooney just smiled and said,
want to try to figure out how, and I did a video on this morning as well, to do reconciliation commissions and figure out how they can become more closer allied with Iran because they need protection and the U.S. hasn't provided it. All they get from Trump and Rubio is fraud and lies and catastrophic invasions, and then fraud about the catastrophic invasions that cause death and destruction to the economy. So Marco Rubio is there in the Middle East, and he's meeting with these Gulf countries, these Arab nations, and Rubio's like, no one can charge tolls. Let's just suppose we went crazy and lost our minds and agreed that there could be a tolling mechanism. How would you enforce it? The way it's enforced today, Rubio. Iran knocked out a ship, and y'all go silent. And then just say everything's going fantastic to manipulate the markets for your right-wing oligarch buds. Here, play this clip.
To go through the straits. And think about it this way. If you have, first, it's not even workable. Let's suppose that we went crazy and lost our minds completely and decided to agree to have a tolling or a fee mechanism. How would that work? It's not doable, because what's the consequence for not paying it? Let's say a ship says, well, I'm not going to pay the fee. It's not like a toll on a road. You don't get a ticket in the mail. They get shot at. You shoot at one ship, you sink one ship, no other ship is going to move. So that sort of system is not only unwise, it can't happen, it's not even workable. So you might as well abandon the fantasy now.
To the fearless Emma Gonzalez. She's fearless. We're living in a time where fear is our stock in trade. Fear of Muslims, fear of immigrants, fear of minorities, fear of strong women.
I will if he does. I will if he does. That's a trade-off, Clooney said. He'd happily take. It's perfect, it's calm, it's funny, it's devastating, and it flips the whole thing around. Trump says get out of politics, and Clooney says sure. The second you do, he turned Trump's own demand into a punchline that exposed the absurdity of it. The reality TV host turned president, telling the actor to stay out of politics. The room roared, and it set the template for the entire feud. Trump comes in hot and personal, and Clooney comes back cool, witty, and completely unbothered. Which, if you understand Donald Trump at all, is the single most infuriating way anyone can respond to him. He feeds on reaction. Clooney gives him a shrug and a one-liner. But Clooney doesn't just clap back, he exposes. And the most important things he's exposed aren't about Trump's personality. They're about something bigger and more dangerous.
Then Marco Rubio says, and our relationship with Oman is fine because Oman says they're not in favor of a tolling system. Read the damn MOU, you idiot. We can see the text. And I know you want to say, oh, there's no algae in the reflecting pool. Don't believe your eyes. No, January 6th wasn't an insurrection. We're not going to talk about the 2020 election. I mean, COVID was caused by Dr. Fauci. I mean, all of your ridiculous life. Could we speak about the truth, please? The MOU says that there's a 60-day period where there won't be tolls, there won't be charges, but then after 60 days, there can be. It's in the MOU, the document, and it's also in the technical discussions that happened after. Here, let's play this clip.
Is the current bilateral relationship with Oman now in a good place? And are you convinced they're not playing games with respect to that issue?
I mean, our relationship with Oman is fine. I mean, ultimately, there's not going to be any fees or tolls. There's not going to be any, and they've signed, you know, they were there in the meeting today, and they said it, that they're not in favor of a tolling system. So that's good. I'm glad to hear them say that.
I do have to ask, because just a few weeks ago.
All right, well, Rubio, what about the $300 billion reconstruction fund that the U.S. has guaranteed Iran that's in the MOU? True, the MOU doesn't say that $300 billion has to be paid directly by the U.S.
Frank Sinatra said the best revenge is massive success. Isn't your best revenge, rather than talking constantly about the last election?
I don't talk constantly, but you brought it up.
You
I
did.
didn't. You brought it up.
Come on, eat away.
Excuse me. You brought it up. I didn't. I don't talk about it very much.
We have a good show for tonight. You know, I've not seen this many people cover their eyes before.
In a cover story for Variety, Clooney went after the way major institutions have been folding to Trump. Specifically, he called out television networks, CBS, ABC, for settling the lawsuits Trump filed against them instead of fighting back. And he said it bluntly, if those networks had stood up to Trump, had told him to get lost instead of writing him checks, the country wouldn't be where it is now. That, Clooney said, is simply the truth. Think about what he's actually doing there. He's not making a joke, he's naming the mechanism. He's pointing out the exact way a would-be strongman consolidates power, not by tanks in the street, but by lawsuits and pressure that make powerful corporations quietly cave, one settlement at a time. And he's calling out the cowardice of the institutions that caved.
The regime said that money's going to come from the Arab nations and not us. So surely that came up, didn't it, Rubio? Here, play this clip.
Mr. Secretary, in the meeting with the GCC allies, did any of them make any commitments to pay into this $300 billion reconstruction?
No, it was not discussed. I mean, the reconstruction, that's way down the road, and that's something, you know, that'll be dealt with at the appropriate time in this process. But that was not discussed by any.
Oh, so that wasn't discussed. So that's just a fraudulent provision? That's what Donald Trump has done his whole life. He never honors a contract. He views negotiation as a way to sucker punch. He believes that the good faith that's supposed to occur is for suckers and losers. And by the way, Iran realizes that. That's why they've built a tiered system in this agreement where they get the benefits first. They get funds unfrozen. They get the blockade removed. They get the sanctions waivers. And those things have...
I will cut a record number of job-killing, unnecessary regulations, which will blow your mind when you see how many.
So if this told you something you didn't know, or made you see this feud a little differently, hit that like button. It genuinely helps us beat the algorithm. Subscribe and tap the bell so you don't miss the next one. And share this with one person who needs to see it. That's how independent voices grow, one share at a time. And drop me a comment. Do you think Clooney's calm, witty approach gets under Trump's skin more than the people who scream at him? I read every single one. Let's talk about it down there. Stay sharp out there, stay loud, and I'll see you in the next one.